If an open world game doesn't have a strong, robust world, what's the point in even playing it? When looking at open world games as a whole, the very world that it takes place in is as important as the story itself, with the setting feeling like a character in and of itself. Without this essential character, everything would just fall apart into ruin. Thankfully, these open world games have some of the best world building in all of gaming, making the entire experience feel full and satisfying. Even when you complete the game, there's so much more you can do, making the world feel lived in and alive while you navigate your adventures. This isn't the same as the best open world games period, as we're ranking the best open world games by their world building.
Death Stranding can seem a bit confusing, especially if you're a newcomer to Kojima's style of storytelling, which is honestly throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks, and it somehow works. However, the longer you're in the world, you learn what the Death Stranding actually was, and how nothing in the world has been the same ever since. Being a blend of reality, supernatural, and outright trippiness, the world of Death Stranding is among some of the most unique in gaming, and it makes the monotonous task of delivering packages all the more rewarding. The more you're out and about in the world, the more you discover, and the more you piece together what's going on with each of the characters. Plus, the new distinct enemies add a horror element to the series, even though the game isn't classified as such. It's a game that's meant to be experienced like cinema, and it works in the world's favor as it strengthens the world building overall. Death Stranding 2 on the beach only expands on this, making the world all the richer and lived in.
There is something distinctly unique about the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, and by extension, its sequel, Horizon Forbidden West, and it all comes down to how nature and technology are intertwined. The world is overrun by machines, including in the flora and fauna everywhere you look. It's as enchanting as it is enlightening, being a commentary on the dangers of over-digitalization and how the cycle of progress can easily revert us back to our tribal, caveman-like origins. It's a reminder for us to take care of our own world, lest it decides to take care of itself, and further decide that humans aren't necessary anymore. You play as Aloy, a woman trying to survive in this harsh world while also trying to uncover her past. While you learn about Aloy, you learn about the world she lives in, and it makes the experience all the more interesting for everyone involved, especially since the aesthetic is already a unique blend of the past and future. There are many reasons it was one of the best games for the PS4, and the world building was a significant portion of those reasons. If you're new to Souls games, you don't actually have to jump all the way to Dark Souls to get started in the genre. In fact, many Souls fans point to Elden Ring as being an excellent starter Souls game, equal parts due to its storytelling, gameplay, and of course, world building. In Souls games, you have to learn about the world through exploration and reading everything that you can find. Simply paying attention to cutscenes isn't enough, but as you keep reading and keep learning, the cutscenes become far more enjoyable with the new context. The lore and world building are complicated, yet simplistic at the same time, a fine line of balance that Elden Ring manages to walk nicely. In true Souls fashion, you're thrown into the world with little context as to what's going on or what you even need to do, but that's part of the charm. Figuring out how all the puzzle pieces fit together is a tedious yet rewarding endeavor for players, especially as they level up and finally manage harder areas with more secrets in store. Just don't expect to get that boss on the first try, or the second, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth. The entire Fallout franchise has fantastic world building, to where it's actually hard to pick a single game that does it the best. However, when it comes to the open-world Fallout games, many fans point to Fallout 4, and even more so, Fallout New Vegas, as one of the best world building, with an equally rich world to back it up. Considering how players are able to pick up from any game and will be given enough context to understand what's going on, Fallout New Vegas does a good job at drip-feeding this information to players, while at the same time completely immersing players in the world. It's a neat balance that Bethesda always seems to make look easy. Of course, since the game has its own charming amount of jank, there is an equal amount of mods to make the experience smoother for players just learning the world. Plus, it's got a ton of replayability that's just as fun as the first time around, and you're able to learn more about the world each time you complete a playthrough.
It might just because this isn't a go-to genre of mine, but when I picture a JRPG, I don't tend to imagine vast open-world games that compete with AAA titles. However, Persona 5 manages to do that to an extent. Not only is the game so wonderfully stylized that it feels like it already has a life of its own, but the world is surprisingly massive in ways I never could have anticipated. You have to actually manage your time like you would in the real world, especially since you're playing as a high school boy. Not only do you have to actually attend class and perform well academically, but you're also able to take on after-school jobs and take a shot at dating life. And of course, you've got to make time for being a vigilante. On the surface level, it seems like modern-day Japan, which might be cheating at the world's building, but that's before you start diving into palaces, an alternate reality living in parallel with the modern world, but with someone's deepest desires coming to life. At that point, the world suddenly feels much larger, and you have much to learn about it. This is a game that genuinely surprises players like myself with how intricate it is altogether. And it's making me wonder how and if Persona 6 could potentially live up to it.
It's not easy being a monster hunter, especially since in the world of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, these monster hunters, called Witchers, are despised by society, seen as thieves and scum. In The Witcher 3, you play as Geralt of Rivia, a 61-year-old Witcher looking for his not daughter, but definitely daughter, Ciri. You don't have to have played any of the other Witcher games in order to figure out what's going on and how the world works. It may take you a few tries, but once it clicks, you'll be replaying it so many times your playthroughs start to blend together. The world of The Witcher is excellently crafted and well written from every angle. So long as you're thorough, paying attention, reading everything, and interacting with as much as you can, you'll learn so much about the world so quickly, it's almost overwhelming. Yet, it sucks you in and makes you want more. This makes me so excited for The Witcher 4 and how the world will feel different with Ciri as our protagonist.
Contrary to popular belief, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild wasn't the first open-world Legend of Zelda game. That's actually the first game. However, the first game came out in 1986, when video games were still pretty bare bones, especially when compared to later titles that nailed world building and their open world perfectly. It's no wonder Breath of the Wild got Game of the Year in 2017. Breath of the Wild felt the most like a Zelda game since The Legend of Zelda itself, and it's all due to the rich world building and the perfect, quiet execution of that world. Seriously, I will never forgive Tears of the Kingdom for making the world clunky, messy, and outright noisy. So I'll just keep replaying Breath of the Wild and living in a cute little Ghibli film. Since this Link has amnesia, you're discovering Hyrule and all that it has to offer for the first time alongside him, with certain areas triggering specific memories that connect directly with the game's story. Not to mention, the sheer number of characters you can meet and chat with is staggering, but it makes the world wholly alive. This game rewards thorough exploration, and considering how absolutely stunning the game is, and the reward being an equally rich world in a strong story, there is zero downside to taking the plunge.
Yes, the gameplay of Red Dead Redemption 2 feels sluggish and heavy. And I know it's done for realism reasons, but honestly, what drew me into the game and to push past this complaint was the world itself. After a while, the gameplay felt connected to the world and became a lot more fun, upgrading the experience altogether, and cementing this game alone is better than the entire GTA franchise.
Not only is the game historically accurate of Wild West Americana, but the attention to detail in the world is absolutely unreal. Yes, it's supposed to be our world, just in made-up states, but the game is so deeply saturated in historical accuracy of 1899, all the way down to the UI, that it feels like a completely new world entirely. And then again, considering how different the world is now compared to then, it may as well be. Of course, that same accuracy seeps into the rich ecosystem you can explore for literal hours. You can hunt, fish, catch wild horses, get into random encounters with strangers and freaks, and so much more. It's a time sink in the best possible way. That's not even getting into the incredibly poignant and stunning story, with incredible acting to follow. And the next thing you know, you've gone through an entire box of tissues. If you haven't played Cyberpunk 2077 by now, even if it's in your backlog, I would highly recommend you pick it up and give it a play, if nothing else, for Night City and the world building alone. Night City is referred to as the city of dreams in the game, and it genuinely feels like one. It's dazzling, it's exciting, it's alive. But there's a horrifying dark underbelly hidden among the promises made of glass. It makes sense that the world feels so lived in and in-depth, considering it's pulling directly from its own TTRPG. The world of Cyberpunk is dark, bleak, and a commentary on the times. Yet, like the human spirit itself, there's still hope. There's still a fight to persist. You'll fall in love with a world that hates you, to put it bluntly, but it's a world that feels uniquely like home. The world building is done from every single corner, and every single element of the game, from the aesthetics, dialogue, and even the in-game radio, are carefully crafted to take on a life of their own. It's genuinely unreal, and the Phantom Liberty DLC, of course, adds so much more to it all.
The best thing about the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is simple. The world of Skyrim itself. You don't have to know anything about the Elder Scrolls to understand what's going on either, since every game takes place in a different country, which allows you to be immersed in different worlds of their own. Skyrim is a harsh, cold land, yet there's a warmth to it that you're drawn to, where simply living in the world is absolute bliss. What hasn't been said about a game as iconic as Skyrim at this point? It's already firmly cemented itself as a gaming classic, rightfully so to be honest, and beloved by all kinds of players. The world building plays a massive part in this, being absolutely captivating from multiple angles. Plus, it's got some of the best environmental storytelling that you can find in gaming, which of course is also used to add to the world building. Skyrim, simply put, is unmatched in world building, in gaming as a whole, most especially in open world gaming.